This final episode with my guest, Martin Pytela from Life Enthusiast podcast, he goes into pain relief, whether it be chronic or acute, giving examples of using supplementation and diet practices for faster healing. And that includes the over 40 crowd. In fact, one of his greatest case examples was one of his friends who was well over 70 years old, who had amazing results. We talk about systematic enzymes, magnesium oil, and a whole lot of other unique ways to help not only athletes, but us over 40 crowd. So if you're interested, stay tuned. This is part 3 of 3 of an interview I did with Martin Pytela from Life Enthusiast podcast. If you'd like to catch up, just go back a couple episodes.
How's it going? This is Brad Williams with Over 40 Fitness Hacks, the podcast where I help you, being over 40, to fight the aging process without giving up your social life. I've been a personal trainer and gym owner for over 14 years, and I specialize in helping the over 40 crowd get to their goals. If you need a little bit of guidance, check out my show notes. I have a link to schedule a free 15-minute Zoom call, and you can ask all the questions you want. But enough of that. Let's get on with the episode.
Well, Martin, let's get that last topic and move on to just pain. I don't know if you wanted to talk about chronic pain or like arthritis or just physical pain from the workouts. What was your take on that?
Yeah, okay, let's talk about pain. So pain is one of the symptoms of inflammation. Inflammation has 5 symptoms: redness, heat, swelling, pain, and loss of function. Inflammation is a really useful thing because when you injure yourself, like say you roll your ankle, you will get the swelling, you will get the redness, you will get the pain and heat, and you will get the loss of function. You shouldn't step on it until the body has had the chance to repair the damage, like make it immobilized. If you have acute injury, you want to ice it, right? Cool it down. You'll slow down the pain. But if you want to heal faster, you actually heat it up. More heat actually speeds up the healing. So anyway, that's the acute injury. So let's just say that you overtrain. Let's just say that you the only way you will develop muscle is if you hurt yourself.
Micro tears.
Micro tears. Now we have something called systemic enzyme that the repair that happens in your body is actually done with fibrin, which is the scar tissue, and your body is building the fibrin into the freshly damaged muscle. If you take a fibrinolytic enzyme, like serrapeptase, thiaprose, stuff like that, natokinase, those are awesome things. If you take that, you can actually heal overnight. Like I've had triathletes on these enzymes saying, I can train tomorrow on the muscles that I worked yesterday. I didn't used to have to do that, right? Like normally you have to pick, right? Like 3-day cycle, the core, the arms, the legs, or whatever, how you want to rotate it. That's the classic method because you need to rest them so they can repair before you hurt them again.
Yeah.
Well, you can put yourself on an enzyme, a systemic enzyme, fibrinolytic, and you can abuse yourself tremendously.
Now, does that enzyme heal everything like your body would naturally do, or it's just masking the pain and you're doing more damage?
No, you
sped up the process.
Well, here's an interesting point. When you're young, up to about age 27, you have a pretty decent supply or a reserve of enzyme. And then at about 25 to 29, most people run out of the reserve and the body switches from young and fixable into aging. And only the best of athletes, professional athletes, have a career into their 30s, and only masters of it, like Tom Brady, push it into 40. But even he can't keep going.
Yeah.
So anyway, he probably knows about enzymes. I don't know his regime, but I speculate that he knows about this and can take the enzyme and does take the enzyme. I remember a 55-year-old dude buying from me $240 worth of enzymes every month. And I'm saying to him, that's pretty spendy.
Yeah.
And he said, well, look it. I have a 35-year-old wife and 5 kids, all younger than 8 years. I have to keep up with this. When I take this much of this enzyme, I can roll around and run around and abuse myself. I am actually feeling 35.
Wow.
And he is, because you cannot tell, is the body young because it has a lot of enzymes, or is it the enzymes that are making the body young? And it's both ways.
And in that scenario, with the gentleman you were just speaking of, he's with the enzymes able to offset and heal faster muscular wise, what about tendon and ligament wise? So that's a whole nother issue.
Oh, that's the magnesium story.
Okay.
Yeah. You need
Something for everything.
calcium and magnesium are each other's antagonists,
Yeah.
and calcification is hardening, and you need to oppose it with the magnesium.
It's more
You
calm.
will retain flexibility. And of course, you want to be eating chicken soup because you need collagen.
Collagen. Okay.
Right.
So I knew it was a little bit more than your client.
Yeah,
was just speaking of
it's
had to do some
nutritional.
other stuff.
It's nutritional, but if you want to not be suffering the stiffness,
Yeah.
you need to be flexible. And calcium and magnesium are each other's opposites. And the enzyme is the anti-inflammatory. It will reverse you back into way quicker repair.
Okay. And
Yeah.
homeostasis, whatnot.
Well, just back to healthy, back to
Yeah.
function, right?
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, we need to understand the acute inflammation, which is 10 days max, a week really. Well, when you're young, it's 3 days. When you're 35, it's 10 days. And when you're 70, it's 2.5 weeks. But we need to help the immune system be able to repair itself. We need the enzymes to be able to repair itself. And then we need to prevent chronic inflammation.
Yeah.
Chronic inflammation is when the problem isn't going away and the body is adapting to it, essentially accepting that this is not going to go away. And this is the leaky gut stuff, right? When we have leaky gut, we end up with awful stuff in our bodies and we end up with chronic inflammation. And we have all these illnesses with the itis and otis with it: arthritis, diabetes, stenosis, tendonitis, bursitis, blah, blah, blah. All
Yeah.
of these things. The damage to the joint, to the plates between, to the wrappings around it, all of that is preventable when you lower the inflammation. And it starts with the gut, sadly.
Yeah. What about chronic inflammation caused by new structural destruction? Like you mentioned the shoulder. You've had surgery, you broke it, it's different. In my case, I've had spinal surgery. My L5S1 is not the same. So it's under constant watch so I don't piss it off and inflame it. Is that just, it's still under the same things? You got to keep that in a anti-inflammatory state the best you can, or is it eventually...
I would say that you should be on a fibrinolytic enzyme clinical dose all the time.
Just to keep getting that back to...
Get your third body back regardless of what.
Okay. And then same thing for people with shoulder injuries and where there's broken bones and they didn't really get fixed right
Okay,
or set right.
Well, we need to talk connective tissue.
Yeah. Okay.
Connective tissue, of course, number one mineral is silica, silicon, right? So you need to have things like orthosilicic acid, or horsetail is the English name for the plant. That, or bamboo sap, or something like that. We need to supplement that because that's the core of the connective tissue protein. And then we need to have other things that go with it. Collagen would be a good supplement to go along with it. Then I was thinking of bones. You need to have boron, plenty of it. I don't know if you know the story of boron. I've had people with chronic pain, like chronic carpal tunnel or chronic back pain, 20 years. They put themselves on 1 gram of borax, which is actually not an approved food item. You can do it with approved food like boron citrate, but whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
So you need a gram of borax a day in a liter of water or quart of water. So it needs water and it needs to be a gram. And you run that for 21 days, 3 weeks, and then you rest for a week. And if your arthritis and whatever stuff hasn't gone away, then you do it one more time. But it probably will just go away. And boron, super important.
And that was in reference to, you said people with just crazy back problems?
Any
Connective tissue.
structural pain,
Okay. Gotcha.
all of it.
Wow.
It's out there, but it's not official, right? Like this is
Yeah.
a total hack. This is like FDA will step all over me if I tell you that I'm going to sell you that boron.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my whole world of coming from growing up with dad in the medical doctor Western world, and then finding out later in my life, all these anecdotals of all these cultures for thousands of years that figured stuff out. And just because there was no money to run these Western type research tests, because no one wanted to fund it, we don't have access to this. So a lot of the stuff I do is be careful, work with my doctor too, try to test stuff out. And I keep finding stuff that works. So how come, but no one's ever going to pay the money to do these tests to get approved by the FDA?
So I have a list, right? I went through it really. The digestive enzyme, the systemic proteolytic enzyme, the magnesium is awesome. Silica, awesome. Boron is important. There's these tricks to the aging athlete where we can get a whole lot of function back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing I always talk on my show is you don't have to actually be an athlete to train and heal and get all the benefits of being an athletic person too. So
Yeah, true. Well, but anyway, do you still do one-on-one coaching for people?
yeah, so I do mine is simple. It's all run through Zoom or my True Coach software. So Zoom, I just talk like this and help people out. And I stay in my lane of just simple doing splits for weight training, some cardio, some nutrition advice, just to raise their BMR, their basal metabolic rate, and
Okay.
they start getting the benefits from that. And then the True Coach software allows me to do the videos and
So do you help people with form, like how to exactly, or?
yeah. So, I mean, if they have any issues and they're not watching the videos which show perfect form on our monthly call on Zoom, if they're having any problems, I have them do that right in front of me so I can pick up anything. So, but it is a little bit more difficult than in-person training where I'm watching like a hawk. So I let people know that ahead of time.
But so you're able to actually, like, if we send a client to you, it's like, okay, I have a problem, whatever, help me with this. You'll be able to coach them through it, right?
Yep, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, Martin, tell my audience how to get a hold of you and what you can help them with. And I'm assuming it can be done online and through Zoom, same thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally do Zoom calls like this one where the client is on the other side of the screen. And well, we work with people with inflammation, typically chronic inflammation. I mentioned the illnesses. It doesn't matter what the diagnosis is. We can find the root cause and help reverse that, or at least make it better.
Yeah.
For sure, do that. And I don't care what body part, I don't care what body system, they all are fixable. So we have some tonics that are universal, and we have some specific tools that go into the specific areas. You'll find that the website's called lifeenthusiast.com. And I have myself and 3 other coaches that help us. We have herbalist, nutritionist, and physio. So we have the tools to help design a program or understand why we are where we are and how to get back to function. The body itself wants to be homeostatically well.
Yeah.
It will take there. What you need to do is remove the blocking factors.
We'll quit adding in more toxins and problems too.
It's interesting. There are these 2 methods, right? Additive and subtractive. Oftentimes, we need to be subtractive. We need to take away stuff that is blocking the expression of health.
Yeah. Now, do new clients need to send in blood work and all that, or everything just going through talking and going through their case history?
Yeah, the online quiz for metabolic typing is actually a quiz, not a blood draw.
Okay. Very cool. Well, as my audience knows, I'll put all your info in the show notes as well as your website, and also check out your podcast. You're still pumping those out, I saw. And yeah, Martin, thank you so much for coming on my show. It's all the different types of hacks that I'm interested in. It's very well suited for my show as well.
Great, Brad. It's a pleasure, actually, really. We need to work together. We need to help people. And I'm delighted to have met you.
Absolutely. Likewise.
For those of you out there that don't know what rebounding is or small trampolining, check out my episode 408, where my guest talks about rebounding to get a little bit more cardio in your weekly routine. I, for one, have always loved high incline walking on treadmills, but after seeing how much space I had left in my garage, it just wasn't going to happen. Since I've been using my rebounder, I've added 10,000 more steps per week on average. It feels amazing on my lower back, which I'm always careful of. So for any of you out there that want something different or have any type of injury, it's a fun and different way to get your cardio in. It's a space saver. Your family can play with it, and you'll get closer to the amount of steps you're trying to get in per week. I highly recommend checking out this rebounder from JumpSport. Check out the link in my show notes. Let's get some high intensity training back in your life and keep that motivation going. If you'd like a little bit of help checking out your diet and your current routine, I'd be happy to help. I always do a free 15-minute Zoom consultation for anyone, no strings attached, just to see if I can help point you in the right direction. So if you're interested, check out the show notes. The link is at the top.